When life gets unpredictable, preparation matters. In medicine, it's all about staying alert, ready for whatever comes through the door. On the road, it's no different. That's why Volvo designs vehicles to help anticipate risk, reduce harm, and protect lives. The Volvo XC90's advanced safety systems inspire confident decisions wherever the road takes you. The Volvo XC90, for life. Proud sponsor of the Pit Podcast. Learn more at volvocars.ca/safety.
All right, welcome back to the Elias Macko Show, second hour of the program. It's action-packed. We're going to start off on the politics here because, of course, yesterday, Quebec got a new premier. She's the premier designate, Christine Fréchette, who will lead this province, 33rd premier in Quebec's history. Walking into our studios here on the corner of Papineau and René-Lévesque is none other than Raphaël Melançon. You know him and love him as a political analyst for CTV Montreal, and he's president and founder of Trafalgar Strategies. Raphaël, welcome back.
Good morning, Elias.
So, first things first, Fréchette wins yesterday, 57.9% of the vote. Surprised by the results? Numbers? Instant reaction here to her
surprised, no, because I think we all expected Fréchette to win, but I think that the surprise was more about the performance of Bernard Drinville. Really, 42%.
High or low?
Like higher
okay.
than I. Well, we knew from the point where Jolin Barrette officially endorsed him that it was going to be a tighter race than initially expected. The question was it too late for Drinville to turn things around with Jolin Barrette supporting him? Now, I think Drinville has to thank Jolin Barrette because had he not had his endorsement, he would probably have finished around 35%.
I'm thinking that too.
At least 10, 15 points less than what he got yesterday in the end. So a better result than expected for Bernard Drinville. Quite a good performance, 42%. But that means also that, on the other hand, Christine Fréchette inherits a party that's quite divided.
Fractured.
So
let me ask.
4 in 10 members of the CAQ that didn't vote for her in the end.
Okay, but let me ask you this because, and I wonder when people actually voted, right? Because the voting was open for several days, right? For almost the whole week, right? And Saturday, Journal de Montréal publishes a poll, and it's like, hey, if Fréchette is the leader, she's up, she's doing okay, she's in third place, she's got 16%. And by the way, if Drinville's the leader, they're at 8%. Right. It's Deadsville for the CAQ.
Even behind Québec Solidaire, imagine.
Well, so do you think that actually was the actual final thing to sway this race?
I think from the beginning of the race, all the polls showed that Fréchette was the only one who could move the needle for the CAQ. Drinville, his problem is about his leadership style and his reputation. Drinville has name recognition, but sometimes in politics,
it's bad name recognition.
It's not always an asset. It's not always an asset. So you have a track record to defend when you have name recognition. Whereas on the other hand, it wasn't the case for Christine Fréchette. She has a blank slate to work with to define herself in the minds of Quebecers and Quebec voters. Well, so it's in this point here, and especially when you have a fatigued party, you have a fatigued government, and people are seeking change, being somehow of a new face in politics, of a fresh face, it could be to your advantage in the end. And that's what we saw here in the polls. People are looking for change, and she's the one who can embody, despite being the leader of the party that has been in power for nearly 8 years, she can embody the change that some Quebecers are looking for at the moment.
Is Bernard Drinville a sore loser?
I think he was, to be honest with you. Yesterday, his reaction to the results, he stayed in the room to listen to Fréchette, to her speech, and then left the room without addressing the media. To me, that's bad sportsmanship. He should have addressed the media. I mean, it's not like it's a surprise also. He knew he had good chances of losing that race from the outset. And in the end, I think he should have planned to talk to the media right away to make sure that there were no questions about his loyalty to his party, about the fact that he will contribute to unite that party, because that's the major issue right now for Christine Fréchette. She first has to unite her party. Now we know from this morning, he tweeted this morning A very nice message. They spoke to each other this morning. They're going to meet or talk again later today. Fréchette is also going to have later today a press conference. She met ordinary citizens in her hometown. She was born in Trois-Rivières, so she was in Trois-Rivières, went to a bakery there with her husband and her parents. So today, the priority for Fréchette is to unite her party. And next week, so she's going to be sworn in on Wednesday.
Yeah.
She's going to be meeting her caucus also on Wednesday for the first time.
Cabinet shuffle, I imagine?
Cabinet shuffle next week.
Next week, yeah.
And that's a big test for her leadership as well, because there's multiple variables that you have to take into consideration. First, you have to, of course, reward those who supported you.
Unite.
Unite at the same time. So you don't want to reward only the people who supported you. You want to bring in some people who were on the Drainville team.
Where's Simon Jolin Barrette?
Now, his constitution is dead.
It's okay. So I said this earlier. The Constitution, Bill 1, DOA, it ain't happening now.
It's not happening. Well, we know already because the session was prorogued in Quebec City. So all the bills that were under review in the National Assembly already
are toast.
Are toast. Yeah. So the question is, which ones is she going to bring back in the new session? Because the session is supposed to resume on May 5th. Could be resuming a week earlier. Right now, there are rumors that they could be resuming on April 28th instead to give Fréchette one more week of work.
And so that is interesting what you're saying. If they're actually going to change the plan a second time, come back to work earlier, that says to me that what Fréchette wants to do here is get stuff done and really use this as an audition and not mail it in at all.
She knows the clock is ticking for her to imprint her mark on her party and her government in the minds of Quebec voters. She needs also as much time as possible to define herself, because there's still a lot of people on the streets that don't know who she is. So she really needs as much time as possible to show that she's acting and that she's taking a new direction, that this is not just pursuing the legacy of François Legault, but this is a new administration, this is a new government with a new vision and a new agenda. So she will also be tabling her own bills to show her priorities. For instance, they're going to lift sales tax on some grocery items.
You think that's going to happen?
From what we hear, that is something she really wants to implement, because it's going to show people that they care about the fact that groceries are costing more and more, the cost of living, tackling the issues that are a priority right now for Quebecers.
Most groceries don't have taxes on them, but I know that, if you buy a small enough container of ice cream, taxed. If you buy 4 muffins instead of 6, it's taxed, right? Prepared meals
are taxed, for instance. So this is something that could be part of that bill that will be tabled in the National
Here's
Assembly.
something I threw at our panelists on the Big Five. I'd love your reaction, okay? So I'm just looking ahead. And it also goes into her attack line from yesterday going after PSPP and the Liberals, okay? And I'm looking at, let's say it's September. We're a month or so away from the next election. Trump is still doing things that threaten Canadian sovereignty, okay? And Paul St. Pierre Plamondon is still talking about a referendum. Right. And then, it's September 12th and the newspapers come out and it's like UPAC has announced they found this looking at the Liberals. And I look at, any bad headline there. And then I say to myself, oh, geez, she's got a pathway. How do you see it? Does she have a pathway to winning? Because you look at the polls, it doesn't matter if it's 16%. At 16%, you're still at 0 seats or 1 seat.
Yeah, well, she could say. I mean, it also depends on how the vote will be split, because let's not forget that right now the Quebec Conservatives, Éric Duhaim's Quebec Conservatives, are still having some momentum. Yeah. So if the vote is split between 4 parties in certain regions, then it opens the door to the CQ maybe saving a few seats in the National Assembly. I think personally, if they were to maintain official party status in the National Assembly after the next election, that means they need to have at least 12 seats. Yeah. That in itself would be a victory for the CQ.
It's kind of crazy when you think of the scenario. Let's just think of the scenario where it's where the PQ is only at 25. The Liberals are at 25. The CAQ is at 22. The Conservatives are at 16, 17, and then you have Quebec Solidaire at 10. How does that play out in ridings? it's crazy.
Anything goes, really. Anything can happen at this point.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting to follow. And I think you're right that Fréchette has a certain path with being the via media between the PQ and the Liberals. Because let's not forget that there's still 1 in 4 PQ voters that do not want to have a third referendum on sovereignty. So these people, these voters are volatile.
Yeah.
They could go to any party. And to go from the PQ to the Liberals is quite a stretch for a PQ voter. But to go from the PQ back to the CAQ, which has a more nationalist stance without being sovereignist or in favor of a third referendum, that could be a possibility. And at the same time, I think Fréchette, compared to Drainville, appeals much more also to some nationalist liberal voters. So she could grab some support from the Liberals as well, because let's not forget also that Fréchette and Charles Milliard have some similar backgrounds. They both come from the business sector.
I know.
They both play the game of a soft nationalist that comes from the regions.
They're both much more open to immigration.
Much more open, yeah, absolutely. So there's something here, and at some point it's going to be difficult also for Charles Milliard to differentiate himself from Christine Fréchette and vice versa. Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they play out.
This Drainville, Simon Jolin Barrette cohort, what happens to them? Do you truly think they're going to stand behind the leader, or do you see there could be a schism where there's some CAQists that leave and go?
No. I don't think. I think if they had to leave, they would have left already. I don't see. Well, maybe they might not run for re-election. Jolin Barrette might not be tempted to run again because Drainville was not re-elected. Was not elected as leader. Same for Drainville. He might not run again with the CAQ. But I think they will remain faithful to their party, especially Jolin Barrette. You know, he's been there since day one with along with François Legault. I wouldn't see him leaving to go to another party. It would look really bad if he were to do that. It would be, again, bad sportsmanship. But it's going to be interesting also to see who's going to be appointed as ministers next week.
Oh, yeah.
Because, as I said, you have to reward those who supported you. You have to show also that you are sending an olive branch to those who supported the other
and that
candidates.
The party is different.
That the party is different.
Things have changed.
So, to me, it's important that all those that have already announced that they would not be running again, think of Geneviève Guilbeault, think of Sonia Lebel.
They're out. They're done. They're done.
You're no longer ministers. Right. So we make way for new faces to show Quebecers that this is not the same government, this is a new team. So you would have potentially half of ministers that are former backbenchers, new faces, new ministers surrounding Christine Fréchette. So that would send a message that this is a new administration.
That fresh face there, Raphaël Melançon. Thanks for your insight. Always appreciate it.
My pleasure, Alex.
Raphaël Melançon, of course, is president and founder of Trafalgar Strategies.
Unmistakably Canadian.
It's the music that raised you.
The artists raising the bar.
Hi, this is Bryan Adams.
Hey, my name's Brett Emmons. I'm from the Glorious Sons.
Hi, I'm Nelly Furtado.
Made in Canada. The station that champions Canadian music.
Loud, proud, and all yours.
No passports required. Just press play.
Tap into Made in Canada now on iHeartRadio.ca
or the free iHeartRadio app.